Peace and love, it's your boy Don Kalam, also known as Malik Kalam, and as always, prosperity is your divine birthright. We just tapping in, tuning in. We're going over that private life today. And as always, I'm not a licensed attorney or tax expert. We do this for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. But I want to continue on what I was talking about last time and just understanding the importance of having family foundations, private family foundations. Families hand down wealth, not individuals, it's families. You don't want to be an individual. Individual is a dependent of a taxpayer, and you signed up for it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The system is a voluntary system. I'm going straight into it, man. We're going into the game, man. But if you want to learn the basics, get $1 million worth of game and follow the yellow brick road. This is for the beginners right here, all right? Can't touch this when you want to learn that foreign status. And then we got from sovereign to citizen. That's for beginners as well, too. So you can start learning status correction. A lot of people don't understand that Mr., Mrs., that's a status. That's a title. It's a low-ranking title at that. You know, some people go by doctors. Some people go by kings. Some people have royal titles. So that's how you play in the game, man. A lot of people don't understand that. And then learning, this is financial freedom, and this learning about accounts, GAAP. When you're using the credit game, because that's real money, man. There's fiat currency and credit. That's the only money there is, because real money is gold and silver. But so when you're using this fiat, when you're playing the game with fiat currency or credit, you got to understand accounting and accounts. And a lot of people are using consumer law instead of using bankruptcy law and accounting law. So I just want to throw that out there because that's real law when it comes to this game, and that's where you can receive true remedy. So with that being said, I want everybody to understand that you are the greatest asset of the family trust. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's YOU. You are the greatest asset of the family trust. And with that being stated, that's why every family trust has insurance or insurance policies. These are investments for every great family trust. An insurance policy. You have an insurance policy on yourself, and the trust is going to be the insurance policy beneficiary. So if you were to pass, the trust can fill itself back up and have capital for the family. And capital for the offspring to step into the passive income situation where they can take the salary or take the money to reinvest in the family trust. I kind of said that a little fast. So just understanding, you in the family trust, you work for the family. So with the family trust, that makes you an asset of the family trust. And you being you should understand that you are the greatest asset. This is your world, baby. This is your perception of the world. This is your perception of the family. So you should be the greatest asset to yourself. And understanding how the insurance policy plays part with the trust, and the family trust is going to be the insurance policy beneficiary. A trust is a person. A trust can act as a person. A trust can do anything a person can do except vote. A trust can do anything a person can do except vote. So if you pass, you end up dying, the trust can fill itself back up and have capital for the family trust and the offspring to step into this passive income situation. And then the trustees can then take a salary or take the money to reinvest in the trust, because trustees are here to make the trust grow. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people are using the Social Security number, which is a public trust, which I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But it's all insurance policies. That's all the Social Security trust is. It's certificate values and it's insurance policies. The way I'm establishing and giving these things to you is something called tax avoidance versus tax evasion. And so you can understand that all your money is now tax-free. Insurance contracts are private contracts, therefore they're outside the scope of the government because the government cannot interfere with a private contract. So insurance contracts are private contracts. Same way with private placement accounts, all private insurance. If you have private holding companies, especially in one of the 5 charging order protection states, especially in order to hold real estate and your intellectual property. And those states are Nevada, South Dakota, Wyoming, Alaska, and Delaware. Those are the 5 charge and order protection states. Look up what charge and order protection is. That's where outside creditors cannot access your business. When we're talking about holding companies, private placement accounts, private insurance, these are considered asset classes. These are things to be part of your family trust portfolio. Every family trust, every family, every tribe should have a portfolio. And all these positions for informed families, these are going to be tax-free positions. These are going to be tax-free positions, and these positions are always there to grow the assets. Like this right here. This is part of the Don Kalam legacy, the Don Kalam family library. So with that being stated, we can hand down wealth through our family trust, through endowments. That's why families can also hand down wealth. Is something called endowments. A family trust can hand down endowments. And only certain entities can even pass down endowments. This is why a lot of people don't understand or know about it. This is why the trust creates private family foundations. Only charities can hand down endowments and trusts. Charities and trusts. The average individual never even heard of endowments because they can't even hand down one. Individuals cannot hand down endowments as the family trust is trust charities, foundations. These are who hand down endowments. We can set up an endowment contract where the family trust gets funded forever. It's called perpetual. And that's what's going on with the Rockefellers. That's why they're still powerful today. The most powerful schools were funded by them. There's over 35 colleges, HCBUs, Howard, Spelman, Morehouse. These are all funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and are still getting paid through endowments and getting kicked back through endowments. And a lot of people don't know this. Go look it up. Go Google it. Go fact check that. Some of the endowment contracts are funded forever in perpetuity, paying out private families who funded these schools. These private families are getting paid out for funding these schools in perpetuity. So this is how you can do it as well. This is why presidents create libraries and private foundations. With that being stated, a lot of people, they don't even know 3 and 4 generations up. So check this out. Going back to family charities. You don't want your offspring to be the beneficiary. I know a lot of people teach that with these family trusts. They teach this with private trusts. Anytime there's a beneficiary, there can be a tax involved. And that's what's going on in the public, especially if you don't know how to act accordingly or speak accordingly in trustee language, legalese they call it. But you don't want to be the beneficiary. You want your children, your offspring, to take the trustee position. They take positions. They get to manage the affairs of the private family foundations, the private family assets, their wealth. They get to manage it and direct where it goes, all right? And they're there to grow the trust. And with that being stated, that's why people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, it's the foundation that pays for the jets. It's the foundation that pays for the Rolls Royces, their suits, their meal plans, their health insurance, all right? Because it's part of the family trust. They're part of the family. If they're not taken care of, how can they grow the family? How can they benefit the family? So private family foundations always pay out the family. You make your name the business. Your name, your business name, that's the operating company. Your name is the operating company that's going to be held in trust with the private family foundations. Now, this is part of the informed system because when it comes to uninformed families, they're using Social Security benefits and they allow the public government to get a piece of everything. And their whole life is exposed to the public. And I hope that makes sense for everybody. This is uninformed families. You have to understand the private sector and the public sector. And this is what I'm stressing like every day. Understand the private sector versus the public sector. The public versus the private. Like the Amish, they move into private. Jewish people, they move into private. Informed families, they move into private. So uninformed families use the Social Security benefits and allow the public government to get a piece of everything. When you use your Social Security number, you use this public entity, this public name, this persona, this persona, then this is exposing you in the public, and now you can be sued for your assets. Now, both of these families are lifestyles. This is a lifestyle. Being informed is a lifestyle. Being uninformed is a lifestyle. But endowments can be set up as a family school, a library, a hospital. Understand that endowments are private contracts, which makes it in a superior position. When I was telling you the government can't interfere with a private contract, that's Article 1, Section 10 of the Bill of Rights, the United States Constitution. So endowments are private contracts, which puts it in a superior position. So every hospital, every school, every library have been created by an endowment. I can't make this up, but this is the things that every family needs to understand. You don't own the wealth any longer. You can just control it when you're putting it in the family trust, the family foundations. A lot of people have to understand this. Why would we create a charity? Because charity has been around forever. The charities will always be around forever. There's always going to be people taking care of the public. There's always going to be people taking care of things and giving money towards causes. When it comes to businesses and charities, there's a difference between founded by and funded by. I need everybody to understand that. There's a difference between founded by and funded by. A lot of people go by who it's founded by, and they're not understanding who it's funded by. So when you hear names like Warren Buffett, he says he's giving all his money to charity. You got to understand it's his charity. And his children become trustees of that charity once he passes. All right? Now, when it comes to the Social Security number, again, that's a public capacity. And when you hear that word public capacity, you need to understand that means exposure. So if you're putting your assets, your car, your house, under public capacities, this means exposure to the public. I need everybody to understand that. So one of the best ways that we like to use is a 508c1a faith-based organization, an FBO. This is an unincorporated association, which means it doesn't have to be incorporated with the Secretary of State. A 508c1a, that's the IRS code. Look up the IRS code and federal code, 508c1a. It's a faith-based organization, or FBO. It's a religious, nonprofit, tax exemption organization. It's separate and distinct from a 501c3 charity and other unincorporated faith-based organizations. This is applicable in all 50 states and recognized internationally under the Hague Convention of the United Nations Charters. So you can use this worldwide. You can create a ministry, private family foundation. It's recognized worldwide. You can open up bank accounts all around the world with this. Since its inception in 1954 with the Johnson Amendment, the 501c3 has been promoted and advertised by many as the only option to organize in a faith-based organization. But this is incorrect, because federal law, IRS publication, and court cases all confirm and establish the rights and protection of the 508c1a. So please look this up. The 508c1a enjoys a mandatory exception from all the restrictions of a 501c3. Faith-based organization has including free speech restrictions, IRS reporting requirements, rules and regulations that the IRS may from time to time prescribe in providing testimony under oath. So with that being said, I want you to understand, with the 508c1a, I have a freedom of speech, and I can still receive funding from outside organizations. I have freedom of speech in the public. When you're under a 501c3, your freedom of speech can be restricted, especially against politics. A lot of people don't know this or even understand this, but this is the law. Look these things up. So I've been helping set up churches all over the United States. I set one up in New York, Texas, a lot of different places. But these are private ministerial associations, PMAs, or private membership associations. Some people call them SSM, self-supporting ministries, or the 508 trust. And that's what this is all about. This is where you put your family ministry. If you're praying with your family, you're teaching your kids about God, you're the minister. Every household is a ministry. A lot of people don't understand that. That's your clan. That's the first time, your first teachers are your mother and your father. It's a ministry, and you can be ran as such. With that being stated, you can give your kids clothes from the ministry. All these things are tax write-offs. That's who should be paying your bills. That's who, if you have businesses, all your businesses need to be donating to the church. As simple as that. Now all your funds are tax exempt. The reason why I'm bringing this up, you don't need a social security number to get the EIN if you want to open up a bank account. There's a lot. Tap in with me, book a consultation with Don Kalam. I'll teach you more about that. But I just need everybody to understand that the Social Security Trust Fund, this owns a significant portion of the United States national debt. That's why I need everybody to understand when it comes to the national debt. The Social Security number is just used to place the U.S. citizen in national debt. And I forget the code. I don't have my phone on me. But if you just Google, United States business means U.S. citizen. Google this. United States business means U.S. citizen. This is federal codes. This is federal definitions. When we was talking about the insurance, when it comes to the Social Security trust, that Social Security benefits include old age, survivors, and disability insurance. That's OASDI, that's insurance. And then Medicare's provide hospital insurance benefits for the elderly. So this is FICA, therefore, it's called FICA. They get your labor before you even get paid. FICA takes money from your check before you even get to see your money. And that's investing in a public insurance. And when it comes to insurance, what a lot of people don't understand is, why would you sign up for insurance when you don't even know the rates, the premiums? I want to know how much I'm going to get paid. This is what a lot of people don't understand, man, when it comes to insurance. So why would you sign up for public insurance when you know nothing about it? It's set up by legislation, so it's always going to benefit legislation. You have to understand that there's a public trust, public sector, public defender. When you hear public housing, this is the government. This is the part of the sector. This is the part of the economy that's controlled by the government. It's called public sector. The part of the economy that's controlled by the government. All public banks is controlled by the government. I keep stressing this. I need everybody to understand that you cannot hand down wealth through certificates. A birth certificate is in place to keep you from handing down wealth. The Social Security number is in place to keep you from handing down wealth to future generations. Your driver's license, that's in place to keep you from handing down wealth through future generations. Your car title, all these things, because you're always going to be taxed for it. If you own it, you don't have to be taxed for it. I own this book. They can't tax me on it. I own my cell phone. They can't tax me on it. Whatever it is you truly own or control, they cannot tax you on it. That's why I need people to understand. So when you look up Sestike Vi, because when you're using the Social Security number, this is Sestike Vi use. Only trustees can have control and direct the affairs of a trust. When it comes to the Social Security Trust Administration, the administration is always going to be the government. Administer, so it's always church. Administer, you're adding a minister. So that's what the government does. It's always adding a minister. I tell people, look up Russia. They have prime ministers. Vatican is a country. So it's always church versus state. This is why I tell people set up their private family church, their private faith-based organization, their private member association. Your family is your private members, your private ministerial association. So when it comes to Sestike Vi use, that's the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy. So that's what your Social Security number is. Sestike Vi is French for he who lives. It is a legal term for an individual who is the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy with rights to property and the income and profits that the property provides. And Sestike Vi is the person entitled to an equitable rather than legal trust in the estate assets. So it's equitable rather than legal. You get the rights to use the property. And the concept is also used in modern life and health insurance policies, where Sestike Vi is an individual whose life measures the duration of the insurance contract. You don't know the terms of the agreements or nothing. You just go get the Social Security number. How does that make sense? That does not make sense to me at all. And it shouldn't make sense to you either. So I'm going to show you another way. Because if you're not ready to jump to the trust, not ready to jump to the 508c1a, I'm going to show you another way that I have helped people become protected and protect their assets. Because you got to understand your name is the brand. They're using your name. You got to understand you are the brand for the trust. You are the asset, so you got to learn how to protect yourself. We can use record labels as well. A record label is similar to a holding company because it's protecting intellectual property, so to speak. Even your voice needs to protect it because they record it on the phone. This is being monitored and recorded. Everything that you do. They use your voice to entrap you and entangle you in the contracts. So with those 5 order protection states, these are the benefits, and I'm going to include, this is the benefits of forming the LLC in Nevada, but this applies for all of the 5 charging order protection states that I stated. Nevada, South Dakota, Alaska, Wyoming, and Delaware. So there's no state income, corporate, or franchise taxes. There's no state income, corporate, or franchise taxes. There's privacy protection for owners choosing to be anonymous. Now, this is a process. Whoever's name you use to be the manager, because the holding company is always going to be manager managed, all right? And then the operating company is member managed, and the single member is going to be your holding company to invoke these rights. I know that's a lot. Tap in. You need a consultation. We'll break this down for you. But the manager appoints a new manager and retires in the private. You keep these private contracts. You don't have to update it with the state unless you become audited. So this is how you're able to protect your privacy and to be anonymous. All right. There's permissive rules on the creation of the shares. You can create private shares as well to keep it out the public. Strong corporate veil protecting individuals from liability. So even as an individual, you're protected from liability when it comes to this business. There's no taxes on corporate shares or profits. No taxes on corporate shares or profits. No taxes on corporate shares or profits. I just had to say it one more time so it makes sense, and I need you to say it out loud as well. There's no operating agreements or annual meeting requirements. The formation of a single member corporations are allowed, so this can be a single member LLC and still have these protections. Now, what a lot of people don't understand with the trust, when you're working in the private trust law, you get to use this with this type of formation as well. A judicial system relying on case law to settle disputes. You don't have to use those codes and statutes, those consumer laws that they're speaking. I'm telling you, you use a judicial system relying on case law to settle disputes. This is stare decisis. This is Supreme Court decisions. You know, you see Gregory versus Helvery, and I want everybody to look that up, Gregory versus Helvery, because this is our right to contract and invoke tax avoidance, all right? And then no formal information sharing agreements with the IRS. You don't have to share anything with the IRS. The IRS cannot poke in your business. This is lawful. This is legal. Lawful and legal is 2 different things, but this is lawful and legal. And this is how the story goes. This is tax avoidance. I need you to understand what's going on with this. So that's the single member LLC or creating a holding company in Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska, or Delaware. One of the 5 charging order protection states. Just do a simple Google search. 5 charging order protection states. Once your money has been taxed, if placed correctly, it's an asset regardless. Once you get taxed once, you don't have to keep getting taxed. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're getting a paycheck, and then it gets taxed, and they go in the real world, and you get taxed again. So you're getting double taxed. If you're placing your money correctly in the correct positions, it's always going to be an asset, and it'll never get taxed. That's what you need to understand. But as long as it's in your hands, you can be sued for it, and it can become confiscated. That's why I need a lot of people to understand. This is why you got to understand the family trust. Because if money's in your hands, if assets in your hands, you can be sued for it and you become confiscated. So if you're using things incorrectly, you will be taxed on the same money you were just taxed for. Or you can place it in a private position and not be taxed again by placing things in a private position. So when you're using your money incorrectly, you'll be taxed again. So you got to learn how to place it in a private position so it's no longer taxed. So families mentor each other. It's private families. That's how you get your private education, private families. You truly can't learn all this information in the public or would not maintain its full privacy. So I can't bring you everything, but I do bring you enough. So we can't address everything that needs to be stated. And that's why I go and have private trustee training meetings with private syndicates, private tribes, private churches. I sit down with private families. And you need to have a private community as well. You need to learn how to get that private training in order to maintain full privacy. It is admiralty, it is contract law, it is currency, it is of the water, bankruptcy. That's law too. So you can bring up bankruptcy law too when you're having disputes. But a private sea is, we're creating your private sea, your private pirate ship, so to speak. This is why it's called a private education. And a lot of my mentors, they don't speak in the public, all right? But I'm here to teach this to you so you can pass on your wealth tax-free, so you can not be sued for your assets, how to be free from the government and not be taxed. And just like Warren Buffett, everybody needs to study what Warren Buffett's doing. The foundation is going to be paying for your life, whether it's the jet, whether it's the clothes, whether it's the trips, whether it's the food, the charity. He is the trustee of the charity. You are the trustee of the charity. You're the trustee of the family foundation. So they has to take care of you. Everybody needs to understand that. So here are things that you can look up on your own. Stipends and fringe benefits. We get paid in stipends. We get paid in fringe benefits. There's meal plans involved. If you have a gym membership, it has to make sure that the trustee is always protected and the trustee is always well. And this is learning first privacy and how to keep your name private from the government. All the people in the public are controlled by their name. And understand, this is not an accident. It is a lifestyle. Private wealth communities are how we're passing down this private information. You got to understand, you cannot have a work mentality when you're dealing with this. It's communities that are passing down this information, so it has to be an entrepreneur mentality, a wealth mentality. Most people in the public don't have a wealth mentality. They have a work mentality. It's a slavery mindset. When you're in the public, it's a slavery mindset. You're so used to being told what to do. You got to understand, if you're not working the program that you created yourself, that you create for yourself, then you're going to be working for somebody else's program, and you're growing their trust. You're growing their visions. You're not growing your own. You're growing their family. You're not growing your own. You're making their family wealthy. You're not making your own family wealthy, because they're not going to pay you. They don't want you where they're at. They pay their workers to work. They pay their workers to be employees. And with the Social Security Sister K Trust, you're an employee. You cannot be a sole trustee. You can't even be a sole beneficiary, because the government steps in, they're the trustees, and then they become the beneficiaries and switch positions with you when they throw you in jail. And this is why you need to understand the doctrine of merger, understand the alter ego doctrine, and understand how these things are coming to play. You got to have your own judges. That's the judge works for a corporation. A judge works for a corporation. You need to learn how to work for your corporation. You need to learn how to work for your business. Everyone wants to benefit as a trustee. You can't be a trustee if you're benefiting. But as a trustee, the trust owns the vehicle. When it comes to a vehicle, you put it in a family trust, and you're the trustee of the vehicle. So a trustee always drives the trust. So understand the difference between public versus private. Everyone just wants to benefit, and that's why they lose. You do not want to be the beneficiary when you're in these situations. A lot of people speak on the EINs. You don't need a Social Security number to acquire an EIN. I need everybody to understand that. I need everybody to understand form versus substance. So your private agreements is what creates the private trust. Your private agreements is what gives the business permission to go get an EIN. The trust gets the EIN. People need to understand that in this you can't establish this. You just have to call it in or fax it in without giving them a social. It's just foreign to their system. You write down foreign and all zeros. This is private trustee training, and this is what we teach. Also learning about key man insurance for the private trust. These are things you should look up on your own. But substance versus form is something major that a lot of people don't understand. In case of an audit, you need the trust minutes. You need the proof that you're holding these meetings. What's setting this up? Because if you're not setting these things up in the private, because the government can't interfere with a private contract, remember that. Operating agreements for your LLC. If you don't have these things, then this automatically goes in default as a public business. It goes automatically in default as public policy. And I need everybody to understand that. And when it comes to public judges, public attorneys, attorneys are consultants for the trust. They're not trustees. An attorney should never be a trustee in a trust. You hire the attorney doesn't hire you. So the attorney is to protect an asset litigation. The attorney is not there to grow the trust. And a lot of people don't understand that. The attorney is there to protect an asset litigations, not to grow the trust. Trustees grow the trust. But a lot of people are letting attorneys come in at that trustee position, and that's something that they shouldn't do. If you want to learn more, go to school.com/Don Kalam. That's SKOOL.com/DONKILAM/about. Make sure you put /about on there too. ABOUT. But you can go to the Instagram. That's DON_KILAM. DON_KILAM on the Instagram. Just click the link in the bios. Read the bio. Show you the number to text. You put the link in my Amazon to go get the books, but follow the Yellow Brick Road. That's the book y'all need to get right now. That's what we're booming. That's what's booming right now. It's #1 bestseller. I appreciate everybody, but Can't Touch This is another good book. But for beginners, go to the Follow the Yellow Brick Road. $1 million worth of game, from sovereign to citizen. And then for my advanced people, Can't Touch This, and then financial freedom. With that, I'm out. Much peace and love.